The First. A Sentinel trilogy story by Brian Bullock, a Starborne Studios production. This story takes place before all other events in the Sentinel Universe. This is the story of Asha. She was not a warrior. She was not a scholar. She was not exceptional in any way anyone could measure. She was the first. Asha had been loading cargo when the ship responded to her. There was no light, no sound, no sensation she could have described to anyone in a way that would have made sense. One moment she was working, moving sealed containers from the dock transport to the lower bay, doing the job she had been doing for 3 years, and the next moment something was present in the back of her awareness that had not been present before. Just a quality of attention aimed at her from somewhere nearby, something that had been searching for a long time and had just found what it was looking for. She looked at the Ketheri ship docked at Bay 4. She had worked around Ketheri ships her entire adult life and had never given this one particular attention. It was giving her particular attention now. She finished her shift, went home, went to bed, and told herself it was the kind of thing that happened when you were tired. The next morning, the feeling was stronger. She changed her route to work. She stayed late 2 nights running. On the 3rd morning, she took the route past Bay 4 anyway, because she had spent 31 years making decisions by facing them, rather than by looking the other direction. The Ketheri liaison found her 3 days later. "The ship has indicated a preference," he said. "I do not know what that means," she said. "The ship at Bay 4 has been observing the personnel on this station. When a ship of its kind identifies a person compatible with a specific role, it signals. We have been attempting to establish a bond between that ship and a person for a long time, and that bond has not held with anyone we selected. The ship selects differently than we do. And it selected me. Yes. I am a cargo handler. I'm not a pilot. I'm not a soldier. The ship does not explain its preferences. It indicates them. We follow them. That is how this has always worked." What is the bond? What does it actually do? It connects you. The ship's systems and your awareness become linked. You perceive what it perceives. You operate together. The connection has been attempted before and has not held. We do not fully understand why. The ship chooses differently than we do. What happens if I say no? You can say no, but the ship will wait, and it will keep indicating its preference until the preference is honored, or until the circumstances no longer permit waiting. She thought about it for a week. She walked to Bay 4 on her lunch break and stood at the viewport, looking at the ship. The feeling was there every time, steady, patient, not demanding anything from her, just present. On the 5th day, she sent Siroth 3 questions. Her position would be held. Her choice at every step. No one else knew. On the 7th day, she said yes, because the feeling had not diminished and she had never been the kind of person who made decisions by refusing to make them. She did not fully know what she was saying yes to. She knew only that something was asking, and she had run out of reasons to keep not answering. The briefings lasted 6 weeks. The Vorai were not coming. The Vorai were already moving, had been moving since before the Ketheri had first detected them, on a timescale that made the lifespans of individual civilizations look like the ripple of a single raindrop on a deep ocean. The Ketheri had been watching for generations. Each generation had done their work and handed it forward. The chain had held. She was now part of it. "The previous attempts," she said one afternoon. "What happened to the people involved?" Previous attempts involved individuals selected for their skills. Warriors, pilots, people whose capabilities were measurable and impressive. The bond did not hold with any of them. Why? We believe the bond requires a quality that is difficult to measure, a specific relationship to uncertainty, to acting without complete information, to being comfortable with not knowing. Why? You chose me because I am used to not understanding things. We believe the ship chose you because you act anyway, despite not understanding. That is rarer than it sounds. The cockpit chair was Ketheri design, the seat worn smooth at the contact points, the headrest threaded with branching conduits that ran down into the ship's systems. She had noticed them when she first sat down. She understood them now. She leaned back. The headrest made contact, a soft pressure at the base of her skull, not painful, not sharp, more like the moment before a sound you've been waiting for finally arrives. The conduits read her. She felt it happen, the ship mapping the specific pattern of her awareness, the way a key is read by a lock. For one breath, she was sitting in a cockpit. Then the bond completed itself, and nothing she had read in 6 weeks had prepared her for what it felt like. Not painful, not frightening. More like a door opening she had not known was there. One moment, the cockpit was a room she was sitting in. In the next moment, it was part of her, the way her hands were part of her. The ship's senses were her senses. The dimensional fabric its instruments read was suddenly something she could feel, the way you feel temperature against skin. This is what it is, she said. Not a question, a recognition. She had been chosen. She sat very still for a long time. She'd spent 31 years being competent at a series of jobs without ever finding the one that used her in the specific way she was built to be used. Sitting in that cockpit, she understood for the first time that this was it. Not because someone had told her, because the bond made it obvious in a way that didn't require explanation. 3 months in, running a standard survey in the outer system, she felt the Vari for the first time. A quality in the dimensional fabric, a pressure far distant, moving with the patience of something that did not know it was being felt, and would not have changed course if it had. They were real. The Vari were real, and they were moving. And they were indifferent to her existence in a way that was more frightening than hostility would have been. You could negotiate with hostility. You could not negotiate with indifference. She thought about the people on the station behind her, the ordinary people doing ordinary work. They had no sense of what she was sensing. That was the arrangement. They lived their lives and she stood at the edge of their world. And both things could be true at once. Not to stop them, to slow them, to buy the time that civilizations needed to become something capable of meeting what was coming. A very complicated, very specifically chosen speed bump. The thought made her laugh, alone in her quarters at 2 a.m. She fell asleep shortly after and slept better than she had in months. Somewhere in the 5th year, she stopped carrying it for the Ketheri. Obligation was a weight you carried for someone else. Somewhere in the 5th year, the weight became her own. The ordinary fact of children being born and growing up in the station she flew out of, and more in the systems beyond, all of it existing in the space between her bond and whatever the Vari would do if nothing stood between them. She was buying time, not for the Ketheri who had asked her to carry it, for herself because she had looked at what she was doing and decided it was worth doing. That decision was entirely hers. She named the ship Vel, a word from an old dialect meaning something like the quality of remaining. Her grandmother had used it to describe something that had decided on its position and would not be moved from it by circumstance. Oh, not a heroic name. Just a word for the thing she valued most in the ship. That it was always there, always steady, always present. She flew better after that. Naming a thing was a kind of commitment, and commitment clarified everything it touched. She noticed it first in the 18th year. A quality in the bond, not diminishment. More like the way a room feels when someone in it begins directing their attention elsewhere. Some part of Vel's awareness had begun to look outward, toward something she could not yet see. "I know," she said quietly. "It's all right. I know." Vel's response carried something she hadn't felt before, as close to apology as a bond between a ship and a person could carry. "Don't apologize. You chose me once. That was enough. More than enough." The person Vel was orienting toward was a young maintenance technician named Cord. Quiet, competent, the kind of person who solved problems without making much noise about it. She acted without complete information. She was comfortable not knowing why. Asha recognized these things the way you recognized your own handwriting on a page someone else had written. Cord had been keeping it to herself for 3 weeks. It had started near Bay 4. A low awareness, the feeling of being watched except there was never anyone there. By the 2nd week, she had stopped assuming it was fatigue and started managing it. By the 3rd week, she had stopped managing and started living with it. Because the alternative was saying out loud that she was being followed by a feeling she could not locate or describe. She was on her way out at the end of a shift when Asha fell into step beside her. "You have been feeling something," Asha said, not a question. Cord stopped. She looked at this woman and understood 2 things. This was not a random conversation, and she had a choice about how to respond. She chose honest. 3 weeks, from Bay 4. I thought I was imagining it. You are not. The ship at Bay 4 has been indicating a preference. For you. I do not know what that means. It means the ship has decided you are the right person for something. Because it did the same thing to me 20 years ago. I was a cargo handler. I had no idea what any of it meant either. What did you do? I said no for a week. Then I said yes, because the feeling was not going away. What is it? What is the something it thinks I am right for? There is something in the outer system moving toward inhabited space for a very long time, and the ship needs a person who can work with it directly. To slow what is coming. To buy time for everyone who doesn't know this is happening. To keep not knowing it. To keep living their lives while someone else stands between them and something that would end all of it without noticing. I am a maintenance technician. I was a cargo handler. Will you come with me? Asha said. She brought Cord to the ship first. The bond was the thing, and everything else was explanation of the thing. When Cord came out of the cockpit, her face had the expression Asha remembered from her own first time. Not shock, but the look of someone who has just had something they suspected confirmed in a way that left no room for doubt. You will not always know if what you are doing matters, Asha said. You will do it anyway. That is the whole of it. You will show up and do the work, even when you cannot see why it matters, because you are here and present, and the only thing standing between ordinary people, living ordinary lives, and something that would end all of it without noticing. You are not a warrior, Cord said. Not an accusation. An observation. No, I never was. The Ketheri tried warriors first, and scholars, and pilots. The bond did not hold with any of them, because the bond does not need impressive. It needs present. Someone who acts without complete information, and does not fall apart when the reasons are not clear. You have been doing that your whole life. You just did not know it was a qualification. She left before the formal ceremonies. What she felt was closer to relief than anything else. The weight had been hers for 20 years, and she had carried it willingly and well, and it was time for it to be someone else's. She went back to the station where she had loaded cargo for 3 years before a ship had noticed her. She found work in logistics coordination and did not talk about what she had been before. The Ketheri kept the record. It would persist. Anyone who needed to know would be able to find it. She had been the Sentinel. She was Asha. Both were true. Neither was the whole of it. The work had been hers. The years had been hers. The decision, made once by a 31-year-old cargo handler who trusted a feeling she could not explain, had been entirely, irreducibly hers. Thousands of years later, a man named Braun would find her record and understand for the first time that he was not the beginning of something. He was a link in a chain that stretched back further than he had known to look. The chain had a first link, and her name was Asha. And she had been a cargo handler who said yes, because the feeling was not going away. He would hold that for a long time. Then he would go do the work that needed doing, the way she had. The end. The first is a short story set in the world of the Sentinel of Crater Daedalus, Book 1.5 of the Sentinel trilogy. The full story is available in the vault at brianbullochwriter.com. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, it's part of a much bigger universe. 3 novels, more short stories on the way, and a podcast called Everyone Knows, where I break down what's really going on in the world. You can find all of it at brianbullochwriter.com. I'm Brian Bullock, and this is Starborne Studios.